But the truth is, we should be thinking about the fact that when Americans go to fill up their cars, that they should think about sticking it to Putin when they put that gas handle in the gas in your gas tank. It's going to cost a little more, and part of it's going to be because of Russia, and just stick it to Putin.
Now, here in America, we got to be ready for the fact that will drive up oil prices, that will drive up gas prices. And if we are really standing with Ukraine, we have to be prepared to absorb that.
Ban all Russian imports into the United States in terms of oil and gas. 4% of our oil supply comes from Russia. We can easily make that up. So what we haven't done yet is go after the oil and gas sector in Russia. That's the Achilles heel to Putin's war machine.
Today, the average gas price in America hit an all-time record high of over $4 per gallon. Okay, that stings, but a clean conscience is worth $1 or $2. I'm willing to pay. It's important. Right. It's important. I'm willing to pay $4 a gallon. Hell, I'll pay $15 a gallon because I drive a Tesla.
So there it is. Pay more at the pump so you can stick it to Putin. The 1% of society is now telling the 99% that you are going to get a lot poorer. You're going to pay a lot more to heat your home, to fill up your car, to pay for food, because you need to stick it to Putin. That's the message. So it is 8:45 in Athens. That would be 8:45 in Kiev and 9:45 in Moscow. And I'm going to do an update. Obviously, the big news is actually we have two stories. One is Nuland's testimony, which I think I'll do in another video. And that was, wow, Nuland basically admitting, Victoria Nuland admitting that that there are certain labs in Ukraine. Anyway, I'll get to that as well in another video. But the really, really big story is the Biden White House. The Biden White House decides to ban all oil and gas imports from Russia. Right? A complete embargo of Russian energy. And actually on the same day, pretty much within a few hours, Putin signed a decree where he said that he's not going to allow companies to export their energy products and other products, actually, all kinds of commodities to countries that Russia has put on a naughty list, the countries that puts sanctions on Russia. They've been all compiled onto a list. It includes pretty much all the EU countries, the USA, the UK, and a lot of other countries, not so much, but say another, I don't know, say dozen other countries that are on this list. And Putin signed a decree and said no energy, no commodities to these countries will be sent via Russia. And we still don't know if this is going to cover all those countries on that list. That hasn't been announced yet, but I imagine it will. And while the decree that Putin signed is very much about commodities, we still don't have the full extent as to what exactly those commodities will be. But that's very much the way that that Russia operates. And I've said this in the past. They don't, the U.S. and the EU, they did a shock and awe sanctions policy towards Russia, a financial war towards Russia. It was very much a shock and awe. They threw everything out there, including the nuclear bomb of the central bank, the sanctions against the Russian central bank, and they threw it all there. And it really didn't affect Russia that much. Yeah, Russia's going to have a hard time in 3 to 6 months, but it really wasn't so bad. The ruble lost value, but it's pretty much stabilized. Russia hiked interest rates; they put it to 20%, and they made some other moves, and it calmed the situation down. There were no bank runs, nothing like that. And so, the shock and awe that the EU and the U.S., the collective West, threw at Russia was absorbed. And now you're going to see the Russians kind of put things out there which are going to be calibrated. You know what I mean? Things are going to be calibrated, and it's going to be step by step, piece by piece. And there were just some people that are walking their dogs, and they're looking at me as I'm filming. But they're going to be they're going to dial up the pain level, over time. And even the decree that Putin signed wasn't very specific. We know they have this list of naughty countries. We know they're not going to allow Russian companies to export various commodities, maybe all commodities, to these naughty countries, but we don't have any more details. We'll find out over time. Anyway, let's go back to Biden. So Biden and the U.S., because they have nothing else to throw at Russia anymore, they've thrown it all out there, they decided to shoot themselves in the foot. And they decided to ban all Russian energy imports and oil and gas. And what is this going to do? It's going to do absolutely nothing to Russia. It does nothing to Russia because oil and gas and all these commodities, everything that Russia exports will find a market because people need these things to live. People need oil, people need gas, people need wheat, people need fertilizer, people need food. So this ban to the United States does absolutely nothing to the Putin government, to the Kremlin, because within the very hour that this ban went into place, I am positive that the Russians found buyers for all of these products. 100% positive that they have buyers. And the worst part about it, why this is a double whammy for the Biden White House, is because the people that are now going to buy these Russian commodities and that are going to buy Russian oil and gas, they're going to buy it in ruble, rupee, yuan, who knows? So they're not going to use dollars either. So this is like shooting yourself in the foot on your right foot and then shooting yourself in your left foot. And it's absolutely incredible what you're seeing happening. And keep in mind, this is all for a country that is not in NATO and that is not in the European Union. Right? And this is all for a country that if they just simply put in their constitution that they're not going to join NATO and they're going to remain neutral, all of this would have ended. All of this would have never happened. That's what all of this is about. And this has been an 8-year process, by the way. This has not been like a 2-week process. This has been an 8-year process, right? This started with the Obama coup in Ukraine. I won't get into the details of that. I'm sure everyone knows exactly how all of this came about. But, the only thing that you could take away from this latest move by the Biden White House, which is really what Biden is doing, is he's sanctioning the people of America. He's sanctioning the middle and lower class, the working class of America. That's exactly what he's doing. This has nothing to do with sanctioning Russia at all. And people that actually go along with this, yeah, they're saying, okay, I'll pay more at the pump. Like Stephen Colbert went on TV and he says, there's a guy that makes $16 million a year. And he says, I'll pay a couple of bucks in gas because, I'm going to have a clear conscience. Let's forget about Yemen and Syria and Libya. The clear conscience is over Ukraine, right? And he's going to pay a little more at the pump in order to have a clear conscience. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of virtue signaling Americans who are going to say, yeah, we'll pay a little more at the pump, and that'll be okay for a couple of weeks, maybe a month, maybe 2 months, but in 3 months, in 6 months. When the real pain hits, because the real pain is going to hit in 6 months to a year. The USD as reserve currency has ended. It has ended, and you can see an example with this move from Biden. Biden is ending it. He's deliberately ending it. I'm going to sit down again. He is deliberately ending the USD as reserve currency. Right? He's not only going to increase the prices of energy with this ban, but he's going to make countries transact without the US dollar, because everything that Russia has, which is everything that people need to survive, will be purchased in rubles or rupees or yuan or other currencies. They're not going to use the dollar. This is an incredible move. The only conclusion I can come to is that, yes, they want to crash the system, but they also want to keep the system alive as well, because it's the system that keeps them in power. This is like, this Davos crowd This Biden, Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, Susan Rice, Clinton, Hillary Clinton, whose Clinton Foundation now is back in business. Imagine that, obviously, because their number one donors were Ukrainian oligarchs, not Saudi oligarchs, Ukrainian oligarchs. Anyway, all of these people, all of these horrible, terrible people, they want to destroy the U.S. They want to destroy the EU. They want to destroy the collective West, and they want to reshape it into this woke ideology. You know, go woke, go broke. Boy, we're going to get a big dose of that. Go woke, go broke. Just got the nuclear treatment. I mean, geez. So I mean, you know, they want to go woke, and they want to go broke, and they want to usher in this new Green New Deal, new virtue signaling ideology that they have in mind. But they also want to keep the system alive to a certain extent. And they know they can't kill off the system just like that, because it's the system that gives them the power. But they also want to make sure that the system is weakened to the point where it's like comatose. It's a parasitic relationship. I mean, these people are parasites. Yes, they want to weaken the body. Yes, they want to control the body. Yes, they want to take over the body, but they don't want to kill the host. And that's what's going on. That's why you see the Biden White House running to Venezuela and running to Iran to try and find a way to plug up the holes that this embargo is going to cause. They don't want to sink the system entirely. They want to keep it alive just enough so that they can benefit off of it and so that they can retain their power. It is very, very freaking twisted. Oh, and by the way, Venezuela's like, yeah, we'll talk. Maduro's like, yeah, we'll talk. Let's discuss it. I think he's playing the game. Everyone knows that Venezuela's oil they're not ready to ramp up production. The Venezuela's industry is in shambles. They're going to need a couple of years. Iran, well, that depends on the JCPOA. You know, Russia is the big player there. And I can imagine that Israel is not going to be too happy about the JCPOA either, or Iranian oil going to the United States. By the way, the U.S. and the refineries in the U.S., they need, from what I understand, they need heavy crude. And that is what Russia has. And so while Canada, if Biden were to open the Keystone Pipeline, which he's not going to do because he's a hostage to the squad and these climate change people, but if he were, and if Canada was going to pick up some of the slack, it still wouldn't be enough to handle it still wouldn't be enough for the refineries to handle their needs. You know, they're going to take this heavy crude, and they're making not only gasoline, they're making diesel, jet fuel, and these types of things. And so, you know, the Biden White House's best bet does appear to be Venezuela. But Venezuela, they're years off. And so when people say, oh, it's only 10% of the gas that's Russian, well, even if it was 5%, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt bigly. And then you're not even factoring in the pain of the European Union, because Franz Timmermans, who's like the vice president of the European Commission, an unelected position, by the way, you know, no one votes these guys in. He comes out with a statement saying that the EU is going to become energy independent in 1 year.
By the end of this year, we can replace 100 BCM of gas imports from Russia. That is 2/3 of what we import from them. This will end our over-dependency and give us much-needed room to maneuver. 2/3 by the end of this year. It's hard, bloody hard, but it's possible if we're willing to go further and faster than we've done before.
And their plan to become energy independent is the Gulf of Mexico, right? Qatar, and Qatar's already told them to pound sand, Qatar, and windmills and solar. Oh, and Franz Timmermans said to all the European Union citizens, all the EU citizens can help out by using less energy, by not bathing, by not keeping the lights on, you know, because, you know, we have to stick it to Putin, right? I'm telling you, these guys are just freaking twisted. They're twisted, but I think it's pretty clear what the game is. I mean, they're parasites. They're parasites. At the one end, they want to destroy the system, but on the other end, they want to keep the system alive. And so, that's the situation. And I think that's the big update. And there's one more bit of news, which is Poland has told the United States. They said that, basically they said, we're not going to be flying our MiGs into Ukraine. We're not going to let Ukrainian pilots come to our air bases and fly those MiGs into Ukraine. So they said that's a no-go. So they ruled that out. And the other thing that the Polish government did do is they trolled Blinken. And they put out a statement saying, you know what? Not only are we not going to fly our MiGs into Ukraine, because that would be obviously an act of war. Russia would view that as an act of war, and they said as much. But we're going to take those MiGs, those MiG-29s, and we're going to transport them to Germany, to the air base in Germany, the U.S. base in Germany, where the Americans then can do, with them what they wish. They're trolling. They're trolling the U.S. That's exactly what they're doing. So, I think Poland has finally understood the deal. They understand what's going on. They understand the risks. And the government has made a move to say, you know what? We're out of this. We're out of this. And that's a smart move. What Poland should be doing is, from a realpolitik perspective, they should wait till the Russians complete their mission, see what they have in store with regards to the west of Ukraine, and then Poland, Hungary, and Romania should engage with Ukraine, whatever that's going to mean, and with Russia, and see how to stabilize the situation. How do you stabilize the situation? How do you make Ukraine neutral? How do you deal with this West enclave? How do you stabilize it there? How do you make it peaceful? How do you make it prosperous? That would be the realpolitik best thing for Poland to do. Wait, see how this thing unfolds, and then when everything is cleared up, start engaging diplomatically with all parties involved to bring a peaceful solution. That is the right move. And tell the US and tell NATO and tell the EU to just go bugger off. And Hungary and Romania should do the same. And that would be in the benefit of the entire region. That would bring stability and peace to the region. And you have to work with Russia, because Russia is the big player there. So that's the realpolitik perspective. Anyway, that's kind of the overview as to what's going on and to what a day it was. The Biden White House, what a disaster. I mean, they are destroying the United States. They've already destroyed the USD as reserve currency, and they're dismantling the US. This is an absolute freaking disaster. And in 3 to 6 months, Russia's going to be fine, everybody. That's just the fact. They absorbed these sanctions. They really did. And it's going to be hard for them for 3 to 6 months. They're going to feel a lot of pain, but eventually they'll get over it. In 3 to 6 months, the pain's going to really start to hit the EU, Europe, and the US. Anyway, that's the video, everybody. TheDuran.locals.com. Take care.